Think of any popular slasher movie, and what is the very first thing to come to mind? The villain. Jason, Leatherface, Myers, the big dude that kills people. That is always the driving component behind any slasher film. If you take him out, you don't really have a movie. I've been watching the Halloween series for the very first time, and to my surprise, that's exactly what the third film did. With Michael Myers super duper dead by the end of the second movie, they did something completely different for the third, and it was actually pretty cool, I thought. So with that mindset, I was more than eager to give Clock Tower Ghost Head a solid chance. The first thing that come to mind when you think Clock Tower is probably Scissor Man. He's the most iconic thing about the entire series after all, but with Scissor Man super duper dead by the end of Clock Tower 2, the series director, Hifumi Kōno, was out of ideas. He just kind of felt like there wasn't enough material left to even do another Clock Tower game, so the next game went to somebody else, and they did something new. Something without Scissor Man. Since the game was quite a deviation from the first two between the lack of Scissor Man and the different director, they decided not to make it a numbered sequel, calling it Clock Tower Ghost Head instead, but even still, people from the West are going to know this one as Clock Tower 2. Since we never got the first game, they called Clock Tower 2 Clock Tower here, and then for whatever reason they decided to call Clock Tower Ghost Head Clock Tower 2. The developers specifically wanted this not to be a numbered sequel, but then the localizers slapped a number on it anyway. Over here was called Clock Tower 2 The Struggle Within, and instead of following Jennifer Simpson with a whole new wacky adventure to deal with, it follows a brand new character, a 17-year-old girl named Alyssa Hale, as she uncovers the mystery behind a curse that's affecting her family. Unlike the first two games, which are both considered cult classics, this one was widely panned by critics and fans alike, and I initially thought maybe it's just because it's the different one. Like Halloween 3, nobody liked that when it came out. No Michael Myers, what's going on here? No Scissor Man, what's going on here, Like I said before, sometimes something different can be fresh because it offers something totally new. But that's not the case here, is it? No, I know this one's gonna be a train wreck, but if there's a story to tell here, I gotta tell it, so let's get started. Ooh, that CG looks a lot better. The models are much higher quality. The animations still look primitive, but it's easily a noticeable upgrade from Clock Tower 2. We start with this rainy scene of a pair of goons digging something up, I think? Okay. And then we get this little montage of our protagonist to kind of give us an idea of the game's gimmick, showing her flip between two different personalities, even murdering somebody during it, Jesus. This is the core idea behind the game, Alyssa's split personality. She's a kind and timid young girl, but there's a second spirit within Alyssa that'll occasionally possess her. Unlike Alyssa, he's not quiet and understanding. No, his name is Mr. Bates and he's ruthless, mean, and does not care what he's got to do to get his own way.
That little shit.
We then cut to a man named Philip talking to his wife, discussing whether or not it's a good idea to have Alyssa visit. He says something about the Maxwell curse before his wife leaves to let their daughter Ashley in, but after she leaves the room, we quickly hear a scream. Fast forward a bit later, and Alyssa arrives, but to her surprise, there's nobody there to greet her. In fact, there doesn't seem to be anybody there at all.
What was that?
And this is where we start playing the game. The intro's a lot more to the point this time. Instead of a long prologue chock full of bulky dialogue like Clock Tower 2 had, we just get a short and sweet cutscene and then we're plopped into the first scenario. I kinda like that a lot better, actually. Once again, it's that point and click gameplay, identical to the previous game. And once again, the game is compatible with the PlayStation mouse, which controls way better than the controller. That textbook I was using as a mousepad last time wasn't really gripping the trackball as well as I wanted it to, so I upgraded to a Nintendo Wii. You ever drop one of these on your foot? I did that a couple of days ago when I was playing, and it hurt like hell, dude. The Nintendo consoles are a force to be reckoned with. Anyway, I found the game feel to be a little bit smoother this time. It's easier to have the character run without stopping, and I found Alyssa would more accurately walk specifically to where I clicked than Jennifer would in Clock Tower 2. It overall feels just a little bit more responsive, just a nice little quality of life improvement that should come with any sequel. So it's not long before we realize that things have gone horribly wrong when we start finding severed body parts laying around the house. Each one is surrounded by this strange yellow blood-like substance, as if the body was genetically mutated or something. Alright, so our goal here is to find Uncle Philip, figure out what the hell is going on, and avoid getting murdered in the process. Philip's 7-year-old daughter Stephanie has been possessed by the curse, and she wanders the house trying to kill anybody she sees. This is essentially what we're dealing with this time instead of Scissor Man, which is, well, okay, I know some people find spooky little girls scary, but I don't know, man, it's just never really done anything for me. A giggly little girl with a knife, I just don't find that very intimidating. I could just knock you over and win. Oh, look at that big ol' smile. No, okay, Stephanie, that's enough playtime today. Nap time. Similar to Clock Tower 2, you'll escape these encounters with her by either hiding or by finding a weapon you can improvise with and knock her out. Taking lethal means with her, though, is not an option, since she's kinda family to Alyssa, right? Now, Bates, on the other hand, oh, this guy doesn't care at all. This is where Alyssa's split personality comes into play.
Alyssa's asleep. I'm here instead.
Alyssa's got this magical amulet that keeps Bates at bay, suppressing him and keeping him from taking over. This will be in your inventory, and at any time you'd like, you can find a place to put it down, which will make Alyssa vulnerable to being possessed. If you don't have this thing in your inventory, Bates will come out and possess Alyssa when she encounters something disturbing. This will usually be a scripted story scene that's shocking in some sort of way, but otherwise you can have Bates take over by being attacked by an enemy. Just like before, you'll mash the right click on the mouse to avoid dying, but while Alyssa likes to dodge, Bates prefers kicking people in the face. When Bates has control, you can perform actions that Alyssa normally wouldn't, which includes using firearms. Yeah, this is the first game in the series to include guns. If you find one, you can pull it out when you're playing as Bates, and you can use them to shoot down your pursuers, immobilizing them just long enough to escape the encounter. But as a trade-off, Bates won't enter hiding spots, and he also won't use weapons you find laying around, which can be really frustrating. There's been times when I did not have a gun, and I couldn't find one, and I had to switch back to Alyssa to use a pickup. There's also puzzles you'll have to solve as specific characters. Sometimes you'll have to be Alyssa to get something done, and other times you'll have to be Bates. This ranges from things like Bates knowing how to disable security systems, or knowing how to pick a lock, or being badass enough to not get killed in certain cutscenes where Alyssa normally would. But since Bates is kind of a huge dickhead, there's going to be a lot of times where you'll have to be playing as Alyssa to advance the plot instead. This is a really cool mechanic, and I really like how there's enough visual information to make it immediately clear who you're playing as at all times. Not only does the cursor shape change, but Alyssa will also have this purple aura around her as well. Now, this all sounds pretty good on paper, yeah, but in practice, this game is a confusing mess. It's got aimless level design, misleading information, and dead ends that can have you playing the game for hours just to realize you can no longer progress because of an invisible error you made hours ago. Oh my god, where do I even begin? The progression in this game is absolutely nonsensical. While the previous games had you finding key items that clearly led to another part of the level, Ghost Head just seems to do whatever it feels like. You'll basically walk around aimlessly until you trigger a cutscene or interact with some sort of object that'll make the next thing you have to do, no matter how unrelated, just appear in another part of the house, without anything telling you that. So what the gameplay boils down to is thoroughly searching the entire level over and over and over until you find the next thing the game spawned in or the next door the game felt like unlocking. And the worst part is, a lot of times certain NPCs and interactable objects are only there if you're playing as a certain character. So if you've explored the entire level again as Bates and could not find the thing the game wants you to do, you'll have to pick up the amulet to switch back to Alyssa and explore the entire thing again. It is the most tedious thing I've ever played in my life. There's never any hint of what to do next. It's all just random and disjointed events. If you're not using a walkthrough, it can take hours to get through a single area. You know how long it took me to finish the first area with a walkthrough? About half an hour. It took me 4 hours without a walkthrough. It's almost like it's confusing by design, just to artificially lengthen the game. I got really hung up in the second scenario. You're in a hospital and there's a scene where a doctor will try to kill you. If you do it as Alyssa, you get killed, but if you do it as Bates, you'll knock him away. I got to a point where I could not progress further than this. It seemed like there was nothing left to do. So, you know what I missed? There's 3 ghostly voices you need to hear, and after hearing them, you need to trigger this scene again, but this time someone shoots the doctor and saves you. So you get one of them by looking in this bathroom stall, you get another one by looking at this exit, and okay, both of those things are things you'd probably interact with by just exploring the place. But the third one, oh my god, you have to inspect this end table in one of the like 5 patient rooms that all look exactly the same as Bates. So if you've already explored the area as Alyssa, you're not gonna think to come back here as Bates. There is nothing significant about this room, let alone this table. If you hover the cursor over it, you don't even get the prompt. There's no way to know there is something here. There's nothing that would make you think to come back to this room as Bates. And I thought Clock Tower 1 had that one dumb click. This is a whole nother level of stupid. And the other huge problem here is that in this level, you can only trigger Bates at this point by getting attacked by a zombie. And Bates cannot use the hiding spots or the improvised weapons, so I couldn't become Bates and then escape the exit mode as Bates because I didn't have any guns and you can't search objects in escape mode. So I couldn't pick up a gun until the zombie was gone. So the only way I could get rid of the enemy and then still be Bates was by going back and getting the amulet, switching back to Alyssa, finding a weapon to get rid of the zombie, then finding a gun as Alyssa, then getting attacked after finding another zombie, which, mind you, there's only a finite amount of zombies on the map, so if you killed them all already, you just have to wait for like half an hour until one just spawns into the room. You get attacked by it, and then you use the gun as Bates to knock him out, but oh, oops, when you knock out an enemy, you automatically run to the last door you used. But since the last one I used brought me to a dead end, I had to go through the door again, and the zombies in this chapter respawn in the same room you shot them, so it was still there, and I got chased again! I was running around for like 2 freaking hours trying to lay out the specific series of events I needed to occur just to be able to play as Bates while not getting chased by a zombie, just so I could click on this stupid end table. This game sucks ass. Yeah, that right there. That's exactly how I feel right now. How would I even know to click on that table as Bates to begin with? It's like finding a needle in a haystack, except nobody tells you there's even a needle to begin with. And why would you even let the doctor strangle you again as Alyssa anyway, since you already know doing that as her gets you a game over? There is no way anybody could possibly figure this out without a walkthrough. This game needs some sort of direction to nudge the player onto the right path. And even when there is direction, it doesn't give you enough direction. At the end of chapter 1, you have to burn this cursed statue, and I've got everything I need. I got the statue, some kerosene oil, a lighter, and there's a fireplace in the dining room. So I put 2 and 2 together, of course, and I go to the fireplace to set this thing ablaze. But guess what? It doesn't work. I try the lighter. It doesn't work. I try the statue. It doesn't work. I try the fluid. It doesn't work. So I run around for an hour looking for something I missed. But it turns out you can't do it unless the amulet is in your inventory, even if you have not triggered Bates yet. If you're still Alyssa without the amulet, it doesn't work. You need the amulet so a certain story scene could happen. But there's no way the player would know that. Come on, guys, just a line of dialogue would have done it. Like, I should probably grab my amulet first. That's all the game needed. But there's never anything like that. Instead, the game just expects you to do a series of arbitrary and unrelated things in an extremely specific order without giving you a sliver of clue as to what needs to be done. If you're going to make a point-and-click game, events must be linked somehow. You need to play test it and assure that players can understand and solve it. You need to make sure it makes sense. You can't have me look at a severed leg in a toilet and have that magically unlock a door 5 rooms away without telling me and expect me to know where to go. How would I know to inspect that door again if previously it was locked and there was no evidence of it ever unlocking? The entire fucking game is like this. Look right here. This is absolutely ridiculous. I have the key to this door, but it will not let me use it on the door until I did something unrelated first. Now I can do it. This doesn't make any sense. And what's a frustrating game without a frustrating action sequence? At the end of chapter 2, there's a shootout scene that has you clicking on zombies to blast them away. Sounds easy enough, right? But you're only given the prompt once the zombie's been on screen long enough, and only if you're hovering the cursor over a pixel-perfect, extremely specific part of the body. Look at this, I died because my cursor was too many pixels away from the sweet spot, and you have to perform this consistently enough to get through 30 zombies. Yeah, 30. I counted. But probably the worst thing this game does is how it'll lock you into a bad ending without giving you any clue that you've screwed up. The first time it happened to me was in the first scenario. You save your aunt from Stephanie, and if you don't lock Stephanie in the room behind you as you leave, which is a pretty obscure and different than normal thing to think of doing because keys don't normally work like that in this game, you're locked into a bad ending. And if you save after you do that, you brick your save file and you have to start all over. If you did this, your aunt's gonna be found lying dead on the balcony, and interacting with her, gives you the bad ending. Okay, so I reload my save file and I'm like, I'll just not interact with her. I'll find a different way to progress the plot. But I looked around for 2 hours before I looked up what to do, thinking, okay, what am I doing wrong here? And I found out that since I didn't lock the door, I could no longer progress. So I started the whole game over because I dicked over my save file. Alright, so I lost a couple of hours of progress. So big deal. It was like, 4 hours? That's nothing. I've gone through worse before. In the same game. There's another one of these that this game is notorious for, and buddy, I was one of the suckers that fell victim to it. So after playing this frickin' game for 3 days, I'm at the final level, level 3, and I walk into here, and there's a big old blood puddle on the ground, so I'm like, okay, I go up and inspect it, and a samurai falls through the ceiling and kills me. I don't even know what just happened. It turns out that the samurai armor put on display in the house in the first chapter, well, you have to interact with it specifically when you leave this bathroom after finding a key item in it. If you do that, it'll come to life and chase you throughout the house, just like Stephanie. It's just another obstacle to avoid. Though that seems like a trap and something you wouldn't want. So how would you know you need to do that to finish the game? Either way, I didn't know about this. I inspected it dozens of times throughout the first chapter and it never came to life because I didn't do it at the specific time in the game's progression. So if you didn't trigger this event, once you get to the last chapter, all of the doors you need to go through are locked and the only one you can go in is this one. The one that gives you this middle finger of an ending. So my save file got dicked over again. This is prankish game design, and not prankish in a good way either. A good prank makes somebody feel like a fool when they realize what's going on. A bad prank is when you're just mean to somebody, and making somebody play through the entire game just to realize their save file got bricked by something they did at the very beginning and had no way of knowing. That's just downright mean. The worst part is that the game doesn't tell you it's been bricked. Imagine playing this back when it came out, before the internet was mainstream. You'd be walking around for hours, wondering what to do with no way of knowing you can't finish the game now. This isn't just bad game design. This is evil game design, like the game's new director was possessed by Bates when he made it.
The little twerp. I'll kill her.
Oh, if there's one thing I must admit I do genuinely love about this game, oh boy, is it ever Bates. Every scene where he comes out is so damn satisfying. Kicking people in faces, even stabbing people in the chest when Alyssa's conscience couldn't even let her think about doing something like that. But Bates, oh, he don't care, he just does things. It is the ultimate satisfaction, being a helpless little girl, being strangled to death with nothing you can do about it. And then Bates comes out and he starts cussing and kicking ass.
Back off, bitch.
What the hell?
That little crud bitch.
Oh my god. He just called the 7-year-old a bitch and kicked her in the face, and then he stabs her in the chest. Oh my god. Oh my god. Bates rules, dude.
That's the way I do it.
Every time Bates would take control, I found myself both laughing at the campy and stupid animations, but simultaneously cheering at the screen. These moments Oh, these moments almost made this horrible game worth sitting through. I love the performance his voice actor gave too. It's such a fitting voice. It's both menacing and satisfying. This guy's here to get things done and he doesn't care who gets hurt in the process.
I don't remember you telling me what to do.
The voice acting overall is way better than Clock Tower 2's. The direction sometimes is a little bit bad, like the characters will say a sentence the wrong way when they should have said it more concerned sounding, or they didn't say it like a question when it was one, but this was still the era of bad voice acting, so in comparison to its competition, this is actually pretty good.
Oh, it's all because of that Maxwell curse.
Maxwell curse?
It doesn't matter now. You must go hide in the den.
Alright, so like Clock Tower 2, the game is split into 3 scenarios. There's no intermissions in between this time, it cuts to the chase, and I really do prefer this. I didn't really think these added much to the game, so I definitely didn't find myself missing them. Every scenario will have a different dude chasing you. In the first one, it's a possessed Stephanie and the suit of armor if you didn't screw yourself over. The second chapter has these zombies, which are super annoying, as I've mentioned. Unlike Stephanie or Scissorman, though, these things don't just appear at random. There's a finite amount of them as well, and they're just sitting in a bunch of rooms, so you'll have to painstakingly take them out one by one so you can explore each area. But what's annoying is you can't do that with the pistol that you can use as baits. You have to do it as Alyssa with an improvised weapon. The only gun Bates can permanently remove them from the game with is the shotgun, but you only get 4 shots with them, and there's way more than 4 zombies. Chapter 3 features the titular character Ghosthead. He's this bulky dude wearing an Oni mask, and he carries a giant cleaver. He's kind of a dumb villain. All he does is hobble around and continuously says,
Everyone must die and suffer forever.
And in addition to him, there's also those zombies coming back from Chapter 2, but this time they're even more annoying and even more tedious to take out. The first level's at your uncle's house, the second is a hospital, and the third is this research lab for pharmaceuticals that Alyssa's father works at. I actually quite liked the first one. I didn't like playing it because of the nonsensical progression system, obviously, but the actual layout of the house was legible and concise. Every room looks unique, it was compact and tightly fit together, and it was easy to navigate both quickly and comfortably. I'd say the layout of this thing was even better designed than anything in the previous 2 games. The hospital is closer to a Clock Tower 2 level though. There's a bunch of hallways that connect different rooms, much less interesting, but still pretty easy to navigate. The third level, on the other hand, is really big and winding, and everything looks way too similar. I had a really tough time with this one. It felt like a huge step back to the problems that I encountered in the first game. And the zombies, there's way too many of them. There's way too many of them! And there's not enough methods to take them out to balance that. There's a handful of office chairs you can use to bonk them on the head and eliminate them, but you'll run out of these so quickly. There's only like 3 in the entire building the game lets you use. Why can't I use any of the other ones? Why is it just these 3? And why do they disappear forever after I use them? Once they're all gone, you'll have to rely on this fire extinguisher in this hallway that for some reason you can use infinitely. So every time you encounter a zombie, you have to run all the way back here to use it again. What I don't understand is why this fire extinguisher is so much more effective than a damn firearm.
Welcome to your first self-defense class. I'm your host, Mr. Bates. First step of self-defense. Get rid of that thing. Now you're ready to smack some bitches.
What just happened? Why do I have a fire extinguisher? At least I thought the resolution was kind of interesting. Skip here to avoid spoilers, I guess, but I recommend you don't do that because don't play this game, ever. I don't want to give you a reason to I heard Nitro Rad said the plot was good, so I wanted to play it. No, don't do that. Just watch it. I don't care if you, just watch it, please. Alright, so as you explore the lab, you slowly realize that these zombies were not created because of a curse, but rather because of a pharmaceutical drug that was created by Alyssa's father. You find him in one of the final rooms of the game as Bates, and to the player's surprise, he knows exactly who Bates is, and their exchanges are really interesting.
Hey you, what are you doing?
Bates.
How sly. To go on about the Maxwell curse and all.
You should go down first. You do want to see the conclusion, don't you?
He tells you to meet him in the next room, so we... Okay, we're back. Okay, so we talked to this detective who offers Alyssa a safe escape at the cost of not learning the truth. So if you say yes, you'll only get ending B, but we can do better than that. All right, so we go into the next room. Okay, so we get to the next room, and we see the ghost head guy confronting Alyssa's father. It's unveiled that Alyssa is not the daughter of Mr. Hale, but instead of Maxwell, the ghost head dude. The Maxwell family carries a curse that births two cursed twins every couple of generations. Alyssa was actually born as Lynn Maxwell and was buried alive in a graveyard alongside her twin brother. Alan Hale had a long-time rivalry with George Maxwell, and he dug up the buried children to try to revive the curse and bring ruin to the Maxwell family. When they dug them up, though, to their surprise, the daughter was still alive. Alan raised her as his own daughter and eventually grew to genuinely love her as his own and valued that over ruining George's life. But the spirit of Alyssa's deceased twin brother began to share her body with her, becoming the entity that we would know as Bates. Yeah, so it turns out that Bates is actually Alyssa's dead brother. That's like his soul is just in her because he died. That's kind of cool. The way this is all actually told is a little bit hard to follow. I only had a general idea before looking it up online to really piece it together. I think this is a pretty awesome origin story. I just wish this was in a better game. And well, that's how I feel about a lot of things in this game. It's got great characters. I love Alyssa and Bates and their struggle over who's in charge, and I love the gameplay ideas that creates. I love the layout of the first level, and I love discovering that Maxwell was the victim and Alan Hale was the one behind it instead of vice versa like you would expect. Using Uncle Philip constantly mentioning the Maxwell curse to flip expectations was actually pretty cool. And that's what makes this game really insulting to me. There's so much I love about it, but to get to all of that, you have to play through one of the most infuriating, confusing, tedious, misleading, and impossible to navigate video games I've ever played. This is, without a doubt, the second worst game I've ever beaten. Probably not the second worst game I've ever played, but this is the second worst thing I've ever sat through in its entirety. I found myself pissed off and annoyed and frustrated and irritated with it over and over and over again. This game took me like 5 times longer to beat it than it realistically should have because of so many stupid things. These characters, these concepts, and this story, it all needs a better vessel, a way to be experienced without struggling to the end of this piece of garbage. And, well, something like that does actually exist. There were a couple of comic books based on the Clock Tower series, including Ghost Head as well. If you want to experience the story, that's probably a much better option. But if you want the full Bates experience, I recommend you just watch a playthrough or something. Retsupurae did a really good one a long time ago. Slowbeef and his friend are both hilarious, and he's really knowledgeable about the point-and-click genre overall, so that's definitely your best bet. I'll put a card up top and a link down below if you want to check that out. It's just, I need to give you some sort of substitute because God forbid anybody watches this video and finds himself interested enough to play it, so I need to make sure that doesn't happen. Please do that instead. I really want to see a game reuse the same concept though. It's such a good idea. The split personality thing. I like that it doesn't just happen when you put the amulet down. I like there being more to it than just hitting a button to switch characters. But you need a much more consistent way of doing it. Having it only being triggered by spare story moments and getting attacked by enemies is not enough, because it'll land you in situations where it becomes a process to become Bates and then be able to deal with the enemy. I know a lot of people are probably thinking of Killer 7 right now, which does have a similar concept, but the execution in that game is very different. I'd like to see it done this way, just good. Honestly, I would love to see a full-on remake of the game, like rebalance the progression system, give proper hints, and of course eliminate those choices that'll brick your save file. There's so much potential here. and it honestly breaks my heart to see it all wasted like that. This one is widely considered the low point of the entire series, so thankfully that means it's only going to get better from here. Next up, we've got Clock Tower 3, the final game of the series. No confusing names this time, since they called this one 2 in the West. It ended up balancing out, and this one got called 3 across the globe. So yeah, hopefully it's much better than what I just had to sit through. So I guess I'll see you guys next time with Clock Tower 3.